It's me again, John Lorden, back with another Geek and Dorks review, your second for this week. I did one on a supposed chick flick called The Gift, and thought I'd also throw out one that is actually something you can rent at home already. This is a movie from 2014. You can check it out on Amazon Prime. I think it only costs you $1 to rent it now, and it's called Interstellar. Gary wants to say hi. Interstellar is written by Chris Nolan and I believe his brother Jonathan. And it is directed by Chris Nolan. Of course, we all know Chris Nolan from the rebooted Batman franchise. And the Dream movie, Inception, which I thought was excellent. And there's a couple scenes in Interstellar that kind of look like they could have been taken from Inception in an interesting way. I'm sure some of you have watched my Geek and Dorks review about Batman Arkham Knight, and I talk a little bit about the Chris Nolan Batman franchise. I liked it okay. It's not my favorite thing. I think that there was a lot of style that was removed from the Batman universe to make the new Chris Nolan Batman stuff, and making it more realistic isn't necessarily a choice that I personally loved a whole lot. That being said, no one can knock the success of it. It definitely has kept the Batman franchise alive. It's kept it invigorated. We got to receive a amazing performance from Heath Ledger as the Joker. So definitely a lot of upsides to it. Interstellar is a real interesting beast. First of all, I didn't know that it was going to be that long. This movie, I think, is over 2 hours and 45 minutes. It could be even close to 3 hours long, which I wasn't originally expecting for a film. I really didn't know what to expect out of this movie, to be honest with you. Matthew McConaughey is a good actor. I typically enjoy him when I see him in something, and it's kind of cool to see him aging and taking on roles that are less the romantic lead type and have a bit more substance behind them, and he definitely handles those roles well. I thought he did a really good job here. This movie is loaded with talent, which I think is the benefit of doing a Chris Nolan flick. I think he's so popular now that he's able to get a lot of name talent. Also in this film are John Lithgow, Anne Hathaway, Michael Caine, Alfred. And speaking of which, Michael Caine is popping up in a lot of movies, especially that I'm reviewing lately. I'm not stalking you, Michael Caine, I swear. Casey Affleck, who does a really good job in this, Topher Grace, and even Matt Damon pops up in this. And it's interesting because I know Matt Damon has a movie, I don't think that's come out yet, where he gets stuck on Mars. And if you want to basically see that same plot, you can just watch Interstellar and see Matt Damon stuck on a different planet. But it's really weird for me. I can't say that I love this movie, and I can't say that I hated it. There are many aspects of this movie that I really enjoyed. It kind of feels like a warm novel, like you have to cozy up with it. It has a bit of a slow burn at the start. There's some things that you have to kind of just roll with. You know, Matthew McConaughey is this former pilot and science expert that is now living as a farmer, and the crops are all going bad, and he just stumbles into this adventure that takes him literally to the farthest reaches of our galaxy. And I love sci-fi like that. I mean, obviously I've got my Star Trek and Star Wars stuff all over the place. But there's something that was really cool about how they handled like the space travel. They had some real world issues about in terms of how these people would be traveling and how time would pass and how that could affect them. And they spent such good attention to detail and handling and dealing with all that stuff that I really, really loved it. Then you get to this aspect of them finding other explorers like the Matt Damon character and kind of the repercussions that would happen around that if it would truly occur. And once again, good imagination, really good writing, very believable in terms of what these characters would experience and what they're saying and what they go through. But there is something And I'm not going to blow it for you, so I can't really say it, but if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. Basically, there's a big mystery that is concluded at the end of the movie. And that conclusion was so unsatisfying for me. It was just, for as smart, as detailed, and as much effort as they took into creating a realistic story, having believable characters and events that are even challenging for some people to go with, but you could go with. They get to this ending that is literally almost too fantastic. Is really what I could say about it. It's just, it breaks the stretches of believability. Although it could be based on, and I'm sure it is based on, some relevant sciences, it just felt unintelligent. Even it could be perfectly feasible, but for a movie that felt so smart getting you to this journey, it leaves you with a conclusion that feels like you have just flipped through a fantasy novel and all of a sudden a magic dragon shows up at the end and shits out a pot of gold. Like, it really left me unsatisfied. There's also some other things about it. There are a couple of robotic characters in this, and it takes place kind of in the near future, and the designs on the robots are kind of ridiculous. They literally just look like blocks. I'll bring up a picture here so you can see them. Now, it's kind of interesting that these blocks can change into different shapes that suits their situation a bit. Like when one needs to run, it kind of turns into this star shape and it just rolls over itself over and over. But I will be perfectly honest with you, this guy looks light years ahead in terms of design of those silly blocks. Once again, it's kind of like what I accuse Chris Nolan of doing with the Batman franchise. All elements of style are completely removed from the design of this robot character. It is literally a block. It's a little odd to me, and I don't think that that's where things are necessarily headed. I bet this guy loves like Apple stuff, and maybe that's kind of his thinking. The Nolan brothers, maybe they were thinking that things will get more simplified. We don't need to have robots this complex. We just need something that looks like a block that can transform into whatever shape it needs to be. There's something to that thought, but in terms of making it visually interesting, there's not much to that thought, and these robots were not visually interesting at all. Also along those lines, the spaceship is really not visually interesting. Anne Hathaway, it's kind of the frumpiest I've seen her, and I'll even say that she is not very visually interesting in this film. It's really odd. They've kind of butched her up, and I think they're trying to make her seem more believable as this kind of, science expert or something like that. I don't think they had to go that far with it. I don't know. She just looked really frumpy to me in this movie, and it's kind of a weird place seeing an actress that formerly played Catwoman come into a role. I mean, as an acting exercise, I guess it's a good thing. I mean, she definitely, you would hardly even believe it's the same person that played Catwoman. But for the aesthetics of the film, I don't quite understand it. All that being said, bunch of great performances, very talented actors. I feel like there is a rad 90-minute to 2-hour movie that's in the middle of this extended cut version. And quite honestly, the ending that they gave, I don't even think they had to give it. I think that leaving no explanation there might have been a stronger choice, and it wouldn't give the potential for the kind of backlash that I had to the story that is literally only resulting from about 5 minutes of this otherwise pretty interesting and enjoyable ride. Now, all that being said, it doesn't seem to be affecting the audience too much. IMDb gives this movie a rating of 8.7 out of 10. That's one of the highest ratings that I've seen for any recent movie. And like I mentioned, it's enjoyable. There's so much in it that's enjoyable. Really, but it's just the thing about the ending being bad is it's almost like eating this rad piece of cake or something like that, and then at the end you just get this horrible taste in your mouth. It's only there for 5 minutes, but there's this really weird, nasty taste. And by the way, the next day you're going to keep thinking about that. What was that nasty taste? Why was the rest of the cake so damn good and that nasty taste at the end? So, all in all, I would personally rate this movie 7 out of 10. I think it's enjoyable. Bunch of great performances. Little weird ending. But let me know what you think. I'm sure a lot of you have seen this already. Maybe some of you have an explanation for the ending that will help me. I mean, I understood what it was saying. It felt kind of cheap to me because I had pretty much anticipated that that's what was going to happen the whole time. I didn't quite understand why, and they kind of explained why, but it just was not satisfying for me personally. But let me know. Did it work for you? Are there other aspects that I might have not considered there? Do you like the big, chunky cereal box robots? It's interesting because I really liked the personality of the robots quite a bit, but aesthetically I didn't see it. I hope you are all seeing some good movies out there. I know it's a little hit and miss, but we do get some every now and then. It just seems like, on average, a lot of them are just kind of mediocre. Like, I feel like I'm saying that a lot of these things are rating 7 out of 10, 7 out of 10, 7 out of 10. I would love something to blow my socks off. Luckily, I had Kingsman a couple of weeks ago, which really did surprise me. But it'd be nice if big studios would do something that would just really remind us why we look to them for great films. And it just seems like they might be getting stretched a little too thin between making as much content as they are or something. I don't know. But let me know your thoughts. I'm curious to hear them. Hope you're all having a great week. I will see you on Friday with another Brain Scratch. Take care.